RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire, the home of the Red Arrows. The team are spending every minute preparing, practicing and repairing. In a few days' time, their epic journey will begin.
It's been dubbed as the biggest tour in a generation. It's a really big deal.
There's 108 people on this tour, so it's huge. It's a real mammoth task, which has taken a lot of planning.
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited. I cannot wait. There's a real buzz around the squadron. Just want to get there and get going.
Everyone is now just really digesting what's on the cards for the shows we're going to, the landmarks we're going to see.
It's excited chatter constantly, so we're counting down the days.
The Reds have been planning their North American tour for over a year. It's one of the biggest and most ambitious trips ever undertaken by the team. Over 11 weeks, they'll travel more than 22,000 miles, perform 30 flypasts and 21 displays.
I think there's two distinct camps in the Red Arrows at the moment about the tour. There's those who are just absolutely fizzing with excitement. I think the other camp are those who are probably just focusing on the most pressing task at hand, which is getting the jets to North America.
Good work.
A monumental task on its own. First, they'll head to Lossiemouth in Scotland before a 3,000-mile flight across the Atlantic, with refuelling stops in Iceland, Greenland and Goose Bay, before arriving in Halifax. After that, it's showtime, with a display route that takes them across the continent. Highlights will include Niagara Falls, Chicago, New York and Washington. They'll head south to St. Louis, Dallas and Denver, and then down the West Coast, finishing in LA.
The schedule is action-packed and some of the places we're going to are truly iconic. We've got skylines and cityscapes and coastlines, so there's some really dramatic sights.
We've never done anything on this scale in North America. We haven't been in Canada and the US for 11 years. So I think we're quite excited to go do something on this scale. Getting there and back is an exercise all in itself.
This season, their high-profile flypasts have continued, including over France, to mark the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Now, it's all about practicing and perfecting the routines that will be seen by their biggest ever audience.
If the weather allows us to, we're going to fly the elevator.
And it's Purty who will lead the Reds across the Atlantic to fly the flag for Britain.
So details then, we're on runway 04, surface wind is 330 at 6 knots. The ambassadorial role that is part and parcel of this job back at home is just going to be magnified tenfold when we actually take the Red Arrows on tour to the United States and Canada. The beauty of our display is it is just a pocket flag. It's red, white and blue that you can deploy anywhere in the world. Let's just talk through reversal though. Reversal 2, smoke on, go, letting it out, reversing left, now.
Red 4 Gregor Ogston is in his first year as a Red Arrows pilot.
I've always wanted to be a pilot in the Air Force since I was a young boy, sort of 6, 7 years old. It's all I've ever wanted to do. As a first-year pilot, it's a massive privilege to be on the team. It's hugely exciting, but also incredibly demanding as well. The first time you turn the smoke on and it all lights up in the cockpit and you start doing manoeuvres and loops and aerobatics, you look behind you and you can see yourself trailing smoke. That's a huge moment that you don't forget.
Red 2 Damon Green, known as Damo, is also in his first year.
There's a steep learning curve, but you really battle through it because you want to be the very best and you want perfection when you put it onto to the public. You've got such an iconic role that you're filling into, and the way we like to think about it is you're just looking after the position for the year. So I'm Red 2 for this year, but next year it'll be somebody else.
But for some, 2019 hasn't gone as planned.
How you doing? How you doing, sir? Great to see you. And you? How are you doing? Congratulations.
Simo, Flight Lieutenant David Simmons, joined the team in 2018, ready for the 2019 season. He's due to take over from Red Arrows veteran Mike Bowden, known as Bog-Eye.
Taking one of your replacements flying, it's just not right. I'll break his legs when we walk back in, it'll be fine.
But Bog-Eye's joking proved prophetic when the Reds suddenly find themselves a pilot down before one of their biggest ever tours. The Red Arrows are just days away from their North American tour, but for one of their new pilots, disaster has struck.
It was unfortunate. I broke the leg playing football just on a seven-a-side sort of Wednesday night league. When I had the X-ray and spoke to the radiologist and she showed me the picture, at that moment there I probably realised that for this year that wasn't going to happen.
With Simo out of action for weeks, the Red Arrows need to find a skilled and experienced replacement pilot, and quickly. And they knew just who to call. Bogeye.
I'd finished my time on the team after 4 years in 2018, back in October, on my merry way to go and be an airline pilot, flying for TUI down in Cardiff, and was happily bussing people around on their holidays.
Red Arrows pilots usually spend 3 years with the team and often return to frontline roles. Bogeye had already done an extra year and was settling into his new civilian career when he was asked if he could return to the team again.
It was a no-brainer, and it took me all of a millisecond to make my mind up. I absolutely went and bit their arm off.
Simo's broken leg means he missed out on vital pre-season training. But he has recovered enough to stay on the team, flying one of the spare jets.
So my role is fully a support role now for the tour. We're planning to take 12 jets on tour. Clearly there's 9 that fly in the display, but moving from each location, we're still going to move those jets around.
It's brilliant that he's up and running and able to come with us on the tour and fly an aircraft with us, and he'll be back in a red suit very soon. I suppose the big question I need to ask myself now is who am I going to pick on and break their leg next year is, I wonder.
Before the tour can kick off in Canada, the team face a challenge like no other, flying their jets across more than 3,000 miles of ocean.
These are 12 aircraft that are not commercial passenger-borne aircraft. They're getting on a little bit, so to now suddenly take them the other side of the Atlantic is a huge logistical challenge.
The Hawk jets are now more than 30 years old, and they can't be flown long distances without stopping for fuel.
The aircraft is predominantly a training aircraft and historically only used for training. The range is limited. We have no air-to-air refueling capability. So at every opportunity, we're having to refuel the aircraft. And that's pretty much dictated our path across to the US.
And because they only have one engine, there's no backup if anything goes wrong.
Single engine over a lot of water is going to be quite challenging. We're used to transiting. It's just the hazard of going over the sea for such a long sea track. It is a bit different for us, and so we need to be very prepared for it.
Among those looking after the aircraft on tour will be an elite team of 11 engineers known as the Circus. They're selected every year and assigned to a pilot for the season.
We're a group of different engineers, weapons, mechanical and avionics. We just all chip in together and try and get the job done, and we make sure the aircraft are serviceable.
It's a bit like a car going in for an MOT. You land, you refuel it, quick inspection, and then quite often we'll hop back in the jet, fly them to the next destination.
The pilots rely heavily upon these skilled engineers.
It's a really unique relationship that I've not seen anywhere in the military or the Royal Air Force before. They are making that aircraft absolutely airworthy, and you're placing your absolute trust in them that it is airworthy to fly in not only transits but the displays.
Lissy Mason, call sign Circus 1, is the officer leading the Circus engineers.
I've been very lucky to do 3 seasons purely because we're doing this mammoth trip across the pond. So it's a real once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
In the aircraft hangar, the whole team has been working around the clock to get the jets ready for departure.
It's just absolute madness, what we're about to do. There's such a buzz downstairs.
The Red Arrows have a total of 14 Hawks. While only 9 are used in their displays, they want to take 3 extra, in case anything goes wrong.
Having 12 in America is really important. While the display is only 9 aircraft, things do go wrong.
But Senior Engineering Officer Richard Bland is concerned about one of the aircraft.
We've got XX278, which has its wing off at the moment because it had a bird strike, incurred fairly substantial damage to the root of the wing, which caused the lower part of the skin to detach and slightly rip off.
With just days to go before they leave, it looks like the jet could be staying at home.
We're now working both day and night shifts in order to try and do it, working through the weekend.
For everyone now, it's all hands on deck.
For us, it's very busy this period. As you can see, pretty much around the hang, there's something going on at pretty much every jet. We've got pretty much all the engineers in just now. We know if we don't get the jets ready, we won't be going either.
A skilled team is required to perfect every aspect of the Red Arrow's displays, including the iconic red, white and blue smoke.
What's really beautiful about this team is that it's not just the guys in the aircraft, it's people like the dive team.
Dive team leader Phil Wands, known as Magic, is also working hard to prepare for the tour.
I've been in the RAF for over 11 years now, and I've never had anything like this come my way.
Several barrels of dye have already been shipped ahead to locations across North America.
It'll be minimum a barrel per display for each colour, and that's 110 litres per barrel, so it really does add up.
And that's just a small part of the 36 tonnes of equipment that has to get across the Atlantic. Paul Llewellyn, known as Welly, is the man who's been planning this for the last 18 months.
I do feel like I have a huge responsibility, almost like a parent waiting for Christmas, because obviously you have children with their expectations, but it's not until Christmas Day when they open their presents you know you've achieved. That's how I'm feeling.
Some equipment has already been shipped ahead to North America. Everything else needed for the tour is being loaded on board giant military transport aircraft.
Literally everything we need to operate needs to fit on these 12 pallets.
It's planned and packed with precision. Meanwhile, in the main hangar, engineers have been working day and night to fix the jet damaged in a bird strike.
Removing a wing is something that we rarely do here at Scampton. We're at the point now where we think this repair is going to come off and XX278 is going to be good to go on the tour.
And all the extra work seems to have paid off. XX278 is finally fixed. So 12 Hawks will be heading across the Atlantic just as planned. But they know there are things that could still go wrong.
You got all the kit you need, have you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice one. All right, cheers, mate.
What happens if an aircraft goes unserviceable in Greenland where we're not planning on staying overnight? What happens if the transport aircraft doesn't get into the airport with us? What happens if, we get to someone and they don't have the correct fuel? All these little things that sound so simple on the face of it, but are just separate spinning plates that any one of which could bring the whole procedure to its knees.
It's departure day, and everyone is feeling the pressure.
Morning. How are you?
Yeah, good,
Yeah, good.
It's pretty real now. Here we are on Monday morning and we're about to set off.
Excited, but a little bit nervous at the same time as well. It's a long way across the pond.
Yeah, it's great to finally be at this moment, but it's slightly nervous and the weather's not too hot just now, but I'm sure it's going to clear up.
Hopefully we'll be in Iceland this evening.
The pilots get kitted up. A trip like this requires full survival gear.
We're going to be flying for almost at the limit of our endurance over the North Atlantic. Ultimately, we need to be prepared for an engine failure, for example. So just getting into the cockpit and what we wear is very important.
It's an immersion suit. It's a bit like a dry suit if you do any diving. So it's kind of got rubber seals all around the neck and the waist. You zip it up, and the idea is it just keeps you nice and warm. If you're in the unlikely chance we head to a jet anywhere, it should help us survive in the water until someone can come and rescue us, basically.
All set, just last-minute preparations now.
Circus engineers usually travel in the back seat of the Hawk jets between locations, but for the risky transatlantic flight, the pilots will be flying on their own.
Normally, we'd jump into the aircraft with our pilots, you know, we'd sort of help pack the aircraft up all together, so it's going to be a bit weird trying to get my head around that.
It was a big decision to not take Circus on the transatlantic crossing, and the reason for that is there's just no reason to expose them to that slightly increased risk of some of those challenges that we face.
The rest of the team set off in other aircraft. 2 A400M Atlas transporters leave from RAF Waddington, carrying staff and equipment. And 2 more military aircraft, known as Voyagers, are also joining the journey. They will play a crucial role in getting the Red Arrows across the Atlantic.
The Voyager is an airborne command and control centre. It still takes on that ultra important responsibility of looking ahead for us, talking to the airfields that we're about to land at, making sure that the weather is fit, and just doing some of that communication that takes the load off my shoulders as the leader of 12 aircraft trying to cross the Atlantic.
In typically British weather, the pilots get into their Hawk jets. It's an emotional farewell from their family. Many won't be reunited for nearly 3 months.
RAF Scampton Tower, that's copied. Daniel, clear for takeoff, surface wind 04007.
After more than a year of planning, the moment has arrived.
Reds, rolling, now.
The Reds finally take to the skies. The start of an epic 3,000-mile adventure in Hawk jets designed for journeys of a few hundred miles. The Red Arrows are heading to North America for their biggest tour in a generation. It's departure day, and a total of 17 aircraft are now in the sky. That includes a search and rescue jet from the Royal Danish Air Force. They'll be on hand to provide emergency help over the Atlantic if anything goes wrong. While the transport planes head straight for Iceland, the first call for the 12 Red Arrows is RAF Lossiemouth.
Lossiemouth in Scotland will be a well-trodden path for most of us. But then, once we get to Lossiemouth, it's preparing for that trip across the sea.
Power.
We've all flown across the Atlantic before on frontline aircraft, but we've had the luxury of air-to-air refuelling, a lot more fuel and 2 engines in most cases. So it is more of a challenge in the Hawk.
Reds, widen.
We have to halt. It's pretty much, get to the next petrol station, fill up the gas.
The Reds touch down on schedule and make their first refuelling stop. Stage 1 complete. Next, Iceland, more than 700 miles across the North Atlantic. To minimise risk, they'll now be splitting into 2 teams.
As Red 6, it's my responsibility to lead the rear section. So when we split down into our 2 sections, it's my job to lead 6 aeroplanes across the pond. So Red 1 will lead 6 aeroplanes, and so will I.
The flight across miles of open water goes without a hitch. Less than 2 hours after leaving Scotland, the jets have touched down at Keflavik Airport. The pilots head straight for the Voyager aircraft to regroup.
Actually being here in Iceland on the way with 12 aircraft out there in the pan, it's real, it's great, it's fantastic.
It all sort of hits home, doesn't it, when you get going? So morale's certainly up. It's good to be here and on our way now. So, that's it. The wheels are in motion.
Obviously, we're nowhere near there yet, so we've still got a few more legs to go. So we're not resting on our laurels yet.
They've travelled more than 1,200 miles today, and they'll be spending the night here. So far, so good. But there are bigger challenges to come. It's morning. The pilots are gearing themselves up for the biggest and potentially most dangerous part of their transatlantic journey. From Iceland to Narsarsuaq in Greenland, and then onto Goose Bay in Canada.
Having to transit via Greenland, which is a necessity because of our fuel range, brings with it a unique set of challenges that I've never been exposed to as a military aviator. We have one small airfield in the southern part of Greenland, which we've got enough fuel to get to, But because of the limited range of these aircraft, we then wouldn't have enough fuel to divert to an alternate airfield, which is a reserve that we would always hold on most of our domestic flying.
Perty will have until halfway through the journey to decide whether to carry on or turn back. It's just over 700 miles to Greenland, the very edge of the Hawk's maximum range.
At the point of no return, we have to be absolutely certain that we're going to be able to get to the airfield that's our destination, that we've got enough fuel to do that the weather is fit to allow us to get to that airfield. Once we cross that line, there is no turning round. We've got nowhere else to go.
The weather is pretty bad in Iceland, but the big concern is things might be even worse over Greenland.
We need to be able to see the ground from quite high up to be able to make the approach in there. So we're just waiting on that call.
An emergency meeting is called on the tarmac to assess the options.
The check-in for collector 335.525, obviously that's slipped at 9 o'clock. All these timings are slipped by 30 minutes.
You can't rush decisions when you're in this game. It needs to be thought about and it needs to be measured. Our driving factor was, is it sensible to launch with pretty poor weather conditions in Iceland, knowing that we've only got one shot to get into Greenland? And it was a really difficult decision.
But time is running out. Perty has to make a call.
It is a go with constant reassessment. We will just look at the weather all the way up to that point of safe return. Once we're beyond that, we are committed to landing at that airport. We have no other options.
Now nearly an hour behind schedule, he leads the first wave of Hawks into a threatening sky. On board the Voyager is Group Captain Tony Franklin, the most senior person on the tour. He'll help track the Reds on their flight to Greenland.
Being on the Voyager, we lined up. We were waiting on the runway. I was quite content that everything was going well.
But something is not right.
Morning everyone, it's the aircraft captain. One of the Reds had a slight problem after departure, and we're just assessing the problem. I'll keep updated as quickly as I can.
Moments after taking off, a problem has been discovered with one of the jets.
Brain was going at 1,000 miles an hour at that point, wondering what had happened.
The Voyager now has to take off, with everyone on board still wondering what's happened.
We weren't quite aware of what was going on at the time, so he was kind of making best guess scenarios.
They try to catch sight of the red arrows.
So hopefully we'll see them flying past with a bit of smoke on to let us know where they are. Where are they?
At last, they come into sight.
Oh yeah, see, there we go. Normally, I'm sat in the back seat with Perty, so it was quite a weird situation to be looking out the window of the Voyager and seeing my colleagues out there, you know, out there on the wing.
But there are only 5 jets. Red 10 is missing.
Red 10 had an issue with his aircraft, and it was to do with the undercarriage. He wasn't getting the right indication when the undercarriage was selected up.
With his jet in trouble, Red 10 pilot Adam Collins has been forced to turn back and land at Keflavik Airport.
Although we train for these things, you never expect them, and it was definitely way off-piste as far as what we'd briefed for.
We sent the front 5 ahead with the Voyager, whilst we would then find out an engineering assessment of how that aircraft and the nose wheel issue had gone. I remember looking back at some fairly concerned faces as we were trying to work out how to take that part of the trip forward.
And it's XX-278, the jet that was badly damaged in a bird strike. Now, it will need repairing again.
That's when it starts to be a challenge. We say, right, okay, what do we need? We need to get spares and parts to that aircraft. We need to get a team. Do they stay behind? Do we bring another team from home or something like that, depending on where it is and how it's going to run. And you can't foresee that until it happens.
The team on the ground in Iceland need to find out the cause of the problem and how quickly it can be fixed.
This aircraft's come back, we're holding the rest of the team. We're now into contingency planning of, do we delay everyone? Is the jet going to be long-term sick for about a week? And then we can decide how many jets we're going to push forward. And so there's a lot of pressure to find out what we're going to do.
Meanwhile, 30,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean, the first wave of jets are midway between Iceland and Greenland. It's the point of no return. Perty and the team on the Voyager must now decide whether to continue.
It was about, is it safe to press beyond the point of no return, which is something I've never dealt with in my 20-year flying career. The nerves then come because you don't know what could happen. We're pushing the Hawk right to the edges of its endurance limit.
We were getting kind of mixed messages at that point about what the weather was actually doing in Narsarsuaq. But after a number of conversations and getting closer to that point of no return, the plan was to push, and push we did.
Bertie and the Reds fly on. With nowhere to divert to if there's an emergency, they're now fully committed to completing the journey to Greenland.
I remember to see a big cloud bank, slight nagging doubt in the back of my mind that had we made the right decision or not. And then we could see the glacier leading down. The front five let themselves down through that glacier.
When I caught sight of that airfield from about 35 to 40 miles away, having just descended through a very thin layer of cloud, I couldn't have felt more relief.
We were sitting in the hold 20-odd thousand feet above, watching those red jets touch down.
I've never landed anywhere like that in my life. The weather hadn't closed in, we got there safely, and the setting was just incredible.
They've made it, but there's no time to celebrate. 7 jets are still in Iceland, and one of them now needs to be fixed.
It's a really tough call because they've got Voyager aircraft running, so they need to make some really focused decisions really quickly. We might end up leaving a few engineers with that aircraft in Iceland.
Time is running out if the second wave of Hawks are to complete today's journey on schedule. The delay has also meant the Danish search and rescue team has had to make an unplanned landing in Greenland to refuel. They need to get in the air and back to Iceland as fast as possible to shepherd the second wave across.
Okay, so the options as I see them is that you depart with wave 1 at 15:45 and join in formation with us.
Our problem is that the weather, as you can see, is starting to close in a bit here, and we're running out of time. So it is a bit of a race, whilst doing it safely, to make sure that we can try and get those aircraft not only into here, but then thinking about the onwards delivery. I think they've probably got about an extra 2 hours beyond their planned departure time. Otherwise, the window starts to really close down.
In Iceland, the remaining Reds are told they need to leave. The broken plane won't be coming with them.
They're just going to press on with the 6 serviceable aircraft they've got, and we've left an aircraft back in Iceland. I'd like to have as many aircraft as we can. I'd really like to get that 12th aircraft across to the US if we can.
The second wave of Reds depart. Pilot Adam Collins has had to leave his ailing Hawk behind, so he's flying Simo's spare jet instead.
I'm expecting that in about half an hour, the other 6 aircraft will join us, and getting these 12, now 11 aircraft across to Canada is a priority.
The weather holds. The remaining 6 Hawk jets touch down safely.
It's quite a special approach, coming in over the ice plains and down through the fjord. Just phenomenal.
It's one of the few airfields I've been in where you actually have to take in the scenery around you and, seeing icebergs at the end of the runway. Absolutely epic.
The pilots are relieved to have arrived, but they're all too aware that one of the jets has been left behind in Iceland. For Red 10 pilot Adam Collins, it's been a difficult and dramatic day.
My gear didn't come up properly, so my nose wheel wasn't properly locked up. It was an issue with the centering mechanism, so I tried it a couple of times and then just had to burn off fuel with the wheels down and then land about 45 minutes after I took off. So they had a look at the jet. Unfortunately, it can't be fixed quickly. So we're going to have to rescue that one probably in a few days once it's had the part replaced, and then hopefully back up to 12 again, ready to get to North America.
But the Reds now have to focus on the next leg of this intense journey, from Greenland to Goose Bay in Canada.
A quick splash of fuel for the jets, and hopefully in Goose Bay tonight, and then on to Halifax tomorrow.
The engineers get to work servicing the jets. It's a tight turnaround on this stop, but essential checks still have to be carried out.
Just making my way around, checking all the flying controls and vital components of the aircraft, making sure there's no signs of damage to them or anything like that.
Yeah, just putting oxygen in the jets so we can breathe. We've not used much, so it's not too bad for us. Quick.
Ascot 9607 in Narsarsuaq, Goose Bay. I'll nav this weather base here at Narsarsuaq. It was a nice day.
Although the weather in Greenland is good, they're keeping a close eye on some low cloud near Goose Bay.
Point of safe return, you can see there's waypoint 8, and that's based on a 20-knot headwind throughout.
After a detailed briefing, once again Purty will lead the first wave, with Toby bringing the second wave behind him.
We're off. We need to get going and to press on to Canada, but everything looks pretty good so far, and I hope it's like this in Canada. It doesn't sound like the forecast's too good, but it's good enough to get in.
The first wave takes off. Two hours later, the second wave is also airborne. Ahead is nearly 700 miles of ocean.
Once we're over in Goose Bay and we sort of, touch down there, I think we've got through the most complicated parts. Once we get there, I think it'll be a sigh of relief. We're across the Atlantic. We're in sort of that position to start the tour.
Crew, 10 minutes to landing, 10 minutes.
The end of day 2 and an epic voyage. With another 1,500 miles of flying under their belts, they finally made it to Goose Bay in Canada.
You could sense instantly the relief on every single pilot. We're now on mainland Canada. We've done the hard bit. And I think we really understood there the enormity of what we'd managed to do in just 48 hours.
After a night's rest, it's a wet start to day 3. Now, there's just a short hop from Goose Bay to Halifax in Nova Scotia. 11 Hawk jets break through the cloud to bright blue skies. They've flown over icy waters and some of the most inhospitable terrain on Earth. But they've made it to Halifax. Over a year of planning has paid off. The transatlantic flight is complete.
That was probably the most epic journey of my career to date. It is amazing to be here in Halifax because this is really the first bit of the tour proper.
To get across the Atlantic on time as well, bang on time, is an absolute phenomenal achievement from everyone on the team, really.
It's great to see all the jets finally here. Crack on with the rest of the tour now. It's just good to get them across the pond, to be honest.
I think it kind of hit everyone sort of frying pan in the face. This is the start of it now, so yeah, looking forward to getting stuck in.
It's been an epic journey, but there are more challenges to come. Before the team can perform in the USA, they need to pass a strict validation test.
It is a nerve-wracking moment. They could say that the display is not fit for the purpose for which we've designed it.
It's Friday morning. The Red Arrows have been in Canada for less than 24 hours.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Searle, I'm Circus 2 on the Red Arrows.
But they're already making quite a splash.
At 7:30 this morning, we were in the car driving to a live morning TV show.
Flight Lieutenant Damo Green, also known as Red 2, he's a pilot of the Red Arrows.
Damo Green and Matt Searle, Red 2 and Circus 2, are being interviewed on live TV.
This is our different environment, you know, the green screens everywhere and different mock-ups of the studios and that.
It was a good experience, actually. Every so often then you just catch a glimpse of the red and the blue suit, and then you kind of like get really self-conscious about where am I looking, what am I doing with my hands, and it's just like, oh, I'll just go back to talking about the team.
They've even made front-page news.
It's one of the shiny jets as well, so she'll be struggling.
Yeah, it's not ours. It's great to just start the tour off on this kind of footing, isn't it? And so we're looking forward to getting flying.
The team already has permission to display in Canada, but they now face a major hurdle before they're allowed to perform in the USA. They need to complete a strict validation flight, which will be assessed by America's Federal Aviation Authority. Without it, the team can't display in the US.
It is a nerve-wracking moment because Public Display Authority is a bit like a driving test, and you can't get rid of those driving test nerves, no matter how many times you rehearsed for it. They could say that the display is not fit for the purpose for which we've designed it.
The Red Arrows regularly practice their display, but the hectic preparations for the tour mean they've not had as much practice as usual, and they need to be on top of their game. Get this wrong, and the entire tour could be in jeopardy.
Obviously, we just had the Atlantic crossing week before, so I think everyone's focus was on that. We hadn't displayed properly, really, for a couple of weeks.
We experience skill fade, and we're always striving to put out the best display we can, and we always want to achieve the highest standard possible.
In a little while, might just go slightly awry. Don't forget, they're used to big 1 hour long shows. It's my job as the leader just to calm the nerves of the pilots that this is just another display. We're just going to fly it exactly the same way we always do, and hopefully prove to those inspectors that it is absolutely appropriate. Good. It's glorious out there. I'm really looking forward to flying over this site. Don't let any of this distract you, the fact that there's that guy sat on the ground.
The Red Arrows take off for their first major test on North American soil. This has to go well.
Boom. Camera, go.
Putting on a good display is more important than ever, with the Federal Aviation Authority inspecting from the ground.
Probably not one of our best, just an issue of timing on the rejoin.
It's not gone as well as hoped, and the pilots aren't happy.
That was not our best performance by any stretch of the imagination.
There was a lot of disappointment amongst the team on that day of the validation. Some of the manoeuvres that just didn't go quite as planned. It was a really good wake-up call.
But it's a pass. While the Reds want perfection, the Aviation Authority are happy with the display.
It's our chance now to go and put that right for the rest of the tour.
And they get straight back in the jets to do just that. They're heading to Halifax Harbour for the first fly past of the tour. And their first public appearance in North America for more than a decade.
It's jam-packed, really full, down here at Halifax waterfront. This is my very first time seeing them. I'm very proud to be here and be able to experience this.
We live in Canada. We've been here for a year, and we've just come down to see the Red Arrows. It makes us feel very proud to be British and also to be Canadian as well.
Moments later, the jets arrive, with their iconic red, white and blue smoke trailing behind them.
I thought it was amazing. Just seeing those planes in that tight formation is just incredible. I have no idea how they're able to do it.
We flew what's known as an enhanced flypast, so it's not quite a full display, but we put on a small show. And actually, I think we were just blown away by the turnout, because even from the air, you could see Halifax was absolutely packed.
Thank you very much, everyone. What a brilliant way to kick this tour off. And we're here to inspire and to entertain, so hopefully we did that today.
Thank you.
But with the fly past in the bag, the Reds still need to up their game.
The next leg brings with it our first public display, full show in front of a North American audience in over a decade.
We need to go and put the wrongs right and get up to the standards that we'd expect.
That sets it off now. We can go and display around and the States and the rest of Canada and look forward to all of those shows, and we'll start to hopefully hit the standards that we're expected to.